It's commendable. Nobody wants to sing him his praises simply because it's him.
Don't allow their hatred for me to interfere with our kids' success. They got to stop that. Y'all got to stop. Some of y'all like that. Y'all got to stop that, man. Give the kids what they deserve, man. I had my turn. You had, I played 14 years. They had 14 years to hate me. Now let it go.
Take out the personal vendetta that you might have against Deion and give the man his credit that he deserves for what he's been able to do.
Sometimes people have a problem with a black man being outspoken.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Let me give a pen and paper because I know you're going somewhere. I know you're going somewhere with this.
You know how it is, Ocho.
One love, tuned in to the Dark Times channel.
So here we go again, back with another one. Welcome back to the Dark Times channel. And before I get started, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that like button for me if you're not new to the channel. And you've been enjoying the content so far on this channel, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me as well. And so I want to go ahead and touch on something in which I've touched on before on this particular channel, but the subject is the underlying hate for Deion Sanders and thus Colorado. Because now that Colorado is sitting at 8-2, fresh off of beating the brakes off of Utah yesterday, you know, a lot of those people, a lot of those folks are getting quieter and quieter.
Last year they won 4 games. And all year was y'all you had your pom-poms, you had your skirt up in there kicking your heels. I thought you were the Rockettes celebrating. Now you go on radio silence. Now you're talking about the only third string quarterback. But had they lost, what would you have said?
And so that's been the narrative all year, ever since Colorado started playing their Big 12 games and they started winning, went on a little win streak. That's been the narrative. Well, the Big 12 conference isn't any good. They haven't really played any real competition.
At Texas Tech, hosting Utah, at Kansas, and Oklahoma State. What do I say to that? How you win matters.
And so from the outside looking in, it seems like no matter what Deion Sanders does, or no matter how much he accomplishes, there's always somebody that's going to try to discredit him. And it's not merely because of what he says, but primarily because how he says it. Deion Sanders is unapologetic.
I know you heard. You should have seen by now. Yeah, they talking about it. You doubt this. They think it's a game. I don't give a damn what they say. You best believe. We're coming.
Deion Sanders is almost a replica of Tony Dungy. And I know from the outside looking in that may sound ridiculous, but at the core of it, they really have the same core values. They both wear their faith on their sleeves. Neither one of them is afraid to speak out or speak up for what they believe in. They just go about it in a different way. And Tony Dungy has always been one of those guys, somebody who's never been afraid and never been bashful to speak up and speak out.
So give us your thoughts, Coach, on the anthem. We were just talking about the Hall of Famer and people speaking out right now. What do you make of what's going on?
Well, first of all, I know a lot of these young men, and they are trying to be a voice for people that don't have a voice. They're speaking up, and that's what the Bible tells us to do.
And you know that athletes have a lot of power and fame and should use it. And so, Tony, if you were a player and a coach, so if you're a player, would you be standing? If you're a coach, would you be standing?
These guys are not unpatriotic. They are not standing against our country. They're standing against kneeling against what's wrong in the country.
What do you teach your kids about this?
And so, as I said earlier, Tony Dungy and Deion Sanders are cut from the same cloth. They just go about it in a different way. And Tony Dungy's way is a little more appetizing or a little more palatable to certain groups of people. And Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco are going to kind of touch on something a little bit deep here. I'm going to go ahead and let the clip play, and then of course I'll come in and chime in.
If you qualify for the position, right? If you qualify for the position to be a leader of men, to be a head coach, and you know you got a little melanin, you have to qualify and be times 10 or greater.
Yes.
Than your counterparts.
Correct.
Take out the personal vendetta that you might have against Deion and give the man his credit that he deserves for what he's been able to do.
Sometimes people have a problem with a black man being outspoken.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Let me give a pen and paper because I know you're going somewhere. I know you're going somewhere with this.
You know how it is, Ocho.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be humble. We're supposed to be thankful. that we just got an opportunity to do that. How dare you be so boisterous? How dare you be so outspoken?
Come on now.
Why you can't be coach-like? Why you gotta have chains? Why you gotta have Prime on your sleeve?
Yeah.
Why you gotta have a cowboy hat when you do interviews?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go somewhere real quick. Think about Obama as a president.
Yeah.
Obama has to be not only qualified, but he has to
overly
way. He has to carry it a certain way. He can't He can't have none of the shenanigans that 45 is able to get away with. Oh, that's not rolling.
And so Shannon Sharpe and Ocho Cinco touched on something that we all know to be true. It's called being twice as good to get half as much. And it's not complaining or having a victim mentality. It's simply stating the obvious. It's simply stating a certain reality. And once you know that there's a certain reality that you're up against or that you have to compete in this world with, then you won't be surprised and you won't be shocked by certain outcomes. You can learn to will and deal in a certain reality, and you can expect certain results. It doesn't mean it's always going to be that way, but at the very least, if you get a different outcome in what you're supposed to get, you won't be fooled, you won't be shocked. And I think a lot of times that leads to all kind of mental illness and depression when it comes to certain groups of people, especially people within the so-called Black community. Now, it's not to say that you're supposed to give up and not even try. That is one way for some people. There's the old saying, the only way to win the game is to not even play. That is one way of thinking. I'm not going to knock it, but you have other people. You have other people that go out there and they can be twice as good. They can be 3 times as good and succeed. And love them or hate them, but Stephen A. Smith is a perfect example of this. There's no reason why Stephen A. Smith shouldn't be the highest paid person on ESPN. He's somebody who's been there for over 2 decades and somebody that has an impeccable background in covering sports, somebody that can bring the views in. He's done it consistently year after year, and yet he's not the highest paid person at ESPN. That's Pat McAfee, a Johnny-come-lately, somebody who just got on the scene. And so that's exactly what I'm talking about. You can be twice as good, but still have to fight to get half as much or just as much as other groups of people. And it is what it is. Stephen A. Smith is still gonna live a good life. He's still gonna have everything he needs and above everything he needs. And so I don't think you'll ever hear him complain, but he's still gonna have to fight to try to get what he deserves. As in the case with Deion Sanders. Because of who he is and how he says it, people aren't gonna like it, despite of what he brings, despite of the results. He's gonna have to fight. But the good thing about it in this day and age of independent media, people can see the real value. People can point out Deion Sanders' value. The numbers can move, the needle can move, despite him not maybe getting the attention that in the past he would have gotten by only being allowed to be on certain networks at certain times. Now it's 24 hours a day. You got channels like mine and other channels that are able to put a spotlight on Deion Sanders 24 hours a day. Because he commands it. Excellence demands it. And so it's a new day, and Deion Sanders is free to be unapologetic and get what he deserves. And I think that's going to be a good spot. Go ahead and wrap it up. Definitely try to keep the conversation going on below, and let me know how y'all feel about this one. And as usual, peace and chaos.